What's up, everybody? My name is Charlie Bathgate. I am the CEO of Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus, and thank you for joining us today for a conversation about helping you all get prepped for your trading day as efficiently and as easily as possible. I'm joined today by two esteemed members of the Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus team. We got David McKim here. Dave, say what's up.
What's up?
Dave is the inventor of the Gex Ray, amongst other beloved features in the Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus steam room. And then I've also got Norse here. Norse, say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everyone?
I think anybody who's been in our world and our community for a bit knows Norse. He is a very good, experienced trader in his own right and is also our head of product here. So he is the driving force behind all of the new things that we are doing here in Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus. And that's part of what we're here to talk to you about today. We have a new product that's coming out that we've been putting a lot of time into over the past couple months. It is called the Wall Street Jesus Daily Brief. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're going to talk about this newsletter, all the work that we've put into it, what it includes. We're going to kind of go through each section, talk about why it's there, the role that it plays for these guys in their trading and for our members in the room. And we're gonna take it apart. So if you're interested in this, if this is something that you're looking to learn a little bit more about, definitely check out this conversation over the next 30 or 40 minutes or so. So just to give a little bit of background on the daily brief, the way that this came together, Dave and Norse, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are both very, how should I put this, prepared individuals. You guys work your asses off. You guys take your trading very seriously, even though you don't take yourselves too seriously all the time. We like that here at Sang Lucci and Wall Street Jesus. Part of your trading preparation is putting together, scenario plans, write-ups, looking at various levels that we're going to talk about, today. And you guys were doing that work, talking about it, sharing ideas, bringing some members into it, talking to the educators in the room, Wall Street Jesus, Sang Lucci, Ron Friedman. And after doing this for, weeks and months, we were just like, there's a lot of value to this. This is a ton of work. Maybe we should share this with the world, right? And thus began the process of creating the newsletter. So is that about how things came together?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. And that's actually how a lot of the products that we introduced to Sang Lucci come about. There's stuff that we're curious to look into to see if there's like edge and alpha, and then we start building something out. We start sharing them with people in community. People really start liking it, and then it's like, wow, there's really something here. Like we should probably, make this into a real viable product. So we do a lot of research and development on, our back end here. And if we find something good, then we want to make it into a product and share it with everyone else. So yeah, Dave was already doing a lot of these scenario write-ups, pulling out levels. I was looking at levels as well. So it all started because we feel like we need these things to prepare for the trading day ourselves. So that's how this newsletter or daily brief initially came about.
Yeah, to be a little bit selfish too. I mean, part of it is there's a lot of really good stuff shared in the community from the other members. We have some really, really good traders in the community as well. So it kind of forces us to do that work every day and make sure we're picking up the things that everybody's saying, stuff that Wall Street Jesus is posting, Ron, Lucci, all those guys, some of the other head traders, making sure that we pick up on the things that they're saying that are important, the things that are doing that work well, and putting that all together in a report along with my preparation, Norse's preparation, everybody else's. So there's a little bit of selfishness in there as well, because it helps me make sure I prepare every day and be a better trader.
Yeah. I mean, we've been they've been putting this together for a couple months, and we've put in a lot of work and sort of testing this. If you're watching this now, I mean, we're recording this on August 13th, 2024. So right now, the only people who have access to this have been Steam Room users. So people who are, paying members of our community, and we've gotten tremendous feedback on it. I mean, what a lot of people have said is that it really has helped accomplish its goal, which is to save time and save energy and do the prep work for people so that they don't have to do it in the morning, right? I mean, to wake up every morning and have this in their inbox, a lot of the members are saying like, this is like a godsend. It is saving us so much sort of time and energy, and it's allowing them to cancel other subscriptions, other newsletters, because getting everything that they need, in one place. So we're excited to release it out to the public, and I think it's going to be something that is accessible to people who might not be, they might not want to be in a room all the time, logging into a platform. Maybe the price point for the Steam room, is kind of out of their reach. This is something that is, going to be way more accessible for more people. So we hope more people get to take advantage of it. But let's stop talking about it and start talking about it and go into this thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up an example, which is just going to be today's, and we're just going to go through section by section and talk about this stuff, talk about what's in there, talk about the role that it's playing for, for these guys and how it helps them. And hopefully it'll give everybody a good idea of what is included in this thing. So let me share my screen real quick. All right. You guys can see that, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So let's start out. I mean, Dave, you want to start us out here? This part is, a little bit more straightforward, but, so maybe we can be briefer on this, but you want to just kind of give a quick summary of what we start out with?
Yeah. The beginning section is really just a highlight of what the market did yesterday. And there'll be some key points in there. One of the things, just kind of as an overview too, the stuff that we put in the newsletter is, I'd say, aggregated and filtered. So we're trying to just pick up on the things that are important. We don't need to list out whatever stock did or every piece of news, just the things that made a difference and it might carry over to the next day or explain what happened the day before. So we just talk a little bit about what the market did, maybe why it did it. So in yesterday's case, we saw technology stocks were stronger than the broad market and help lift the indexes. And then we talked about the economic releases and how that might have affected the day, and just kind of detail a little bit about what our plan was yesterday and how that played out from the newsletter, and then also from the tools that we use in the room. So that picture that you see there talks about in the newsletter that we had an early signal. One of our scenarios was that we might get a balanced day. Part of that was ahead of PPI, CPI, or something else later in the week. I don't remember what it is, but we have some big catalysts coming up. And then we have some tools in the room. This is one of them that helps us identify whenever the market volume's low or volume's high. It's either confirming or suggesting that a move might not be lasting. And so yesterday, when you look at this picture, we won't go into the details on it, but this picture, this one in particular, this was at 11 o'clock Eastern, and it gave us a good indication that not everything's kosher with the move up. We had low volume, but we had high range. We had inside bars. We were one time framing down on the Russell. So that was a nice ad to have. So we put it here in the newsletter just to help people refresh their memory that, hey, don't forget to look at these things. They are really good signpost indicators that we might have a change, or, maybe this move is legit, something of that nature. And then we also see the X-ray below it. And again, excuse me, not to go into detail, but too much detail, but you can see the green lines that are on there, the call walls, and the red ones are the put walls. And you can see on that picture how they're contracting and price is contracting. So that was another indication that there probably wasn't going to be a lot of range in the day. So those two things together let us look to our scenario 2, which isn't in this newsletter. It's the one from the previous day that was looking for balance in the day. And that's really what we got yesterday. And that was the first day we were looking for that in a while, and we got it. So that was I think, very helpful information.
Got you. Yeah. And I think that, one of the, as we said, like one of the cool things about this is it's pulling a lot of the tools that we've developed for the Steam room, and making them relatively accessible to people who aren't necessarily subscribed to the Steam room, who can't be in there every day, or as I said, the price point's kind of out of their reach. These guys have done a relatively deep dive into Gamma before. If you go to our YouTube channel, if you look at, there's a video, and I'll put a link into the description, but it's called Flow Trader Series Gamma Focus with Norse and Dave. If you guys look up that interview, if you want to go deeper into how, you know, we use gamma in the room and stuff like that, that's a pretty good primer, you know, for that conversation. Okay, cool. So yeah, so this part of the top is really just kind of like an efficient snapshot. What happened yesterday? What's important? You know, maybe if you were out or whatever, just kind of zoned out, you know, the day before, you're waking up and you're hungover or something and you're like, wait, what happened yesterday? You know, this is a good way to kind of get yourself, remind yourself of what happened yesterday so that we can go into the day ahead. This part, I think, is one of the coolest parts of this. Do you guys want to break down what the day ahead section is all about?
Yeah, so the day ahead section, which obviously comes after the quick little recap. So now that we know sort of like where we came from, now we have to look at the different scenarios and, you know, probabilities of where we can go in the day ahead. So this is a write-up that, you know, Dave does, so he can speak more to this in detail, but it's something that's like super, super helpful for me as someone who trades, you know, mainly futures. But I think this is helpful to anyone who's, you know, in the markets, whether you're an option trader or an equity trader, because you kind of need to know what the overall market can do, you know, no matter what instrument you're trading. So in this day ahead, you are almost every day going to get even one or two, or you're going to get two or three scenarios. And we don't say that we know what's going to happen in the day ahead, right? But we think, since we follow the market so closely, and Dave has spent a lot of time, you know, deep diving into market profile, that we can create some higher probability scenarios, and also what to look for along the way to see if these scenarios are playing out. On top of that, you're going to get important levels that you can use either as entry or targets. And other time we list sort of like what's called often like a line in the sand, where you can be like, you know, bulls are in control above this level, bears are in control below. So there's going to be very helpful pieces of information for you to read before the market opens, and to keep track of when the market is open and the trading day develops. So, you know, I think these are really, really important levels to, you know, put on your chart or keep in the back of your mind if you, you know, if you're trading futures, if you're trading options, if you're trading equities. And we can take a look at, you know, scenario, I think it was scenario 2 today, which we had the move higher, right? So Dave, do you want to walk us through scenario 2 today?
Yeah, scenario 2 was, you know, first of all, scenario 1, we're just kind of looking for continuation of balance. That's what, you know, after yesterday and with CPI ahead, it's kind of what I expected to be the higher probability. But scenario 2, you know, there's always that possibility. We have 3 scenarios today. We don't always have those. So scenario 2, higher value, continuation of the one time framing up. So, you know, generally that's the most probable scenario is continuation. And on this, we talk about if we have volume coming in above the overnight high, go with the breakout. So the first target is 54.17, which was the bottom of the gap. It's misworded there, but that's the bottom of the gap from 8.2. And then additional targets are listed below. So the main thesis here was that if we had volume above that level, to look for it to move up to 54.17. At that point, especially in this environment, then we need to monitor that level to see if there's going to be continuation or if we're going to roll back into scenario 1. People that are looking today, I mean, obviously we've had a very squeezy day. We have a trend day up right now. So it's a little bit of a out of the ordinary day, but scenario 2 is played out. So we're above 54.45 right now, right up about 50.50. And so if we look at our levels down there, we've hit the first 4 of them.
This is a perfect example of how you can use these scenarios to get a grip on how the trading day is unfolding and what's likely to happen. Right around 10:48 Eastern, we hit that 54.17 level, and it broke relatively immediately And when we pulled back, we didn't even really pull back to that level, and we never looked back, you know. And since then, we've hit 54.32, we've hit 54.44, and you know, there's still a couple hours left of the day here, so it's left to see if we're going to go all the way up and hit that last upside target of 54.85. But you know, nonetheless, having these scenarios before the market open and then monitoring them to see how the days play out is incredibly helpful.
Something I want to add to, if I don't mind, or if you don't mind, but as far as the scenarios go, because I remember whenever, you know, I started trading and I started, you know, looking for the signals and you know, looking for people to follow and read and stuff like that. And I've been, I don't know how many chat rooms. I've had a bunch of newsletters, paid ones, free ones. I've watched countless hours of YouTube videos. And I want people to understand, as far as the way that we put these scenarios together, we're not trying to call out levels as, you know, this level is the golden level. You know, we're not going to sit here and brag about it afterwards. When it hits the tick, we may call it out, but that's not the point, right? What we're trying to do is, one, give a scenario for how the day may play out. And yesterday, I think, is a pretty good example. Whether you trade futures or not, it's valuable information for you. So yesterday was a balance day, and I remember whenever I used to trade equities primarily, there were a lot of days where you'd get a good strong move in the morning and then it would just die out. And, you know, maybe I got in late on the move, maybe I was expecting more, but then we would just go sideways the rest of the day. And it took me a long time to figure out that, you know, how to properly gauge that. And that's what these scenarios are for. So somebody who's reading this newsletter can look and say, okay, scenario one, this is what balance may look like. So when they're watching NVIDIA and Airbnb or whatever those stocks may be, they can keep, you know, ES, SPY, SPX, it's all the same thing, in the side of their screen, and keep an eye on it so that they can, it'll help them monitor what the market's doing and trade accordingly, because most of the market is going to follow the indexes. The other part of it is the levels are very important, because those are references for us to pay attention and see what happens at those levels. So we don't care if a level hits to the tick or 2 points above or 5 points above, because whenever it acts various ways at those levels, that gives us a piece of information that we add with the GEX-ray, we add it with Jay's flow, we add it with our volatility ranges, all of the tools that we have. And with all the traders in the room and all these tools, you know, we can help really put our thumb on what the market might be fixing to do next. And that's the most important part.
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the feedback that we've gotten is that, you know, it can really help people just kind of anchor their perspective on the day, right? I mean, it's easy to kind of get lost when you don't have sort of signposts that give you sort of fundamental, if this, then that sort of strategic approaches. And, you know, this every single day, the newsletter has, you know, a couple scenarios. Sometimes it's 2 scenarios, sometimes it's 3, and basically gives you like, hey, this could be your plan of action. If this happens, then do that, right? We're not sitting here making, you know, we're not Nostradamus. We're not saying this is exactly what's going to happen in the market, and you know, we're not like calling our shot, but we are saying this is a high probability, you know, outcome here, and if this happens, you could do this, right? And so that really helps people just kind of get planned for the day and anchor themselves.
Yeah, and we're not pulling these scenario out of some like magic hat, right? They're created based on the market structure and, you know, market profile in specific. So, you know, if you subscribe to the newsletter, just pay attention to the scenarios, and I think you'll find that they'll, you know, that they're helpful and that they play out the way that they're described, you know, many times. And I think the thing that Dave mentions about confluence is like one of the most important things for me, because I'm not a market profile guy, but I really want to have the levels that I know someone like Dave is looking at. So when these levels line up with some of the other tools that I'm looking at, like the GEX-ray, like our all expiration timeframes, gamma levels, Fibonacci's, then I get a lot more confidence, right? The more that line up, the more confidence I have that I can lean towards one of those levels. So confluence for me is super important. And if you have other tools that you are, you know, confident in, and you get, you know, areas of interest or levels from, or even just you know, level 2 in time and sales that lines up with what you're seeing with your other tools, then I think it's going to give you a lot more confidence to fire.
Well said. Very well said. Okay, then let's kind of move into the next part here, right? I mean, everybody wants to have a you know, an economic calendar, earnings calendar. Obviously, this is stuff that everybody needs to be aware of. You know, if you're going into the trading day, you can find some of the stuff elsewhere. We're bringing in the most important stuff here. Yeah, you guys want to say a little bit about that?
It's just nice to have in one place, right? Like I don't want to be hopping around like all these different websites where I'm going to get ads and I'm going to get tracked and I'm going to have to filter through. It's like we're pulling out the most important earnings, the most important economic events so that, you know, you're not sitting there in a position and like all of a sudden you get blown out or you sitting on a way too big of a loss because you didn't know that some data was coming out. So this is just something, you know, pretty basic that I think every trader wants to see and needs to be aware of.
Right.
Well, we do two things I want to mention on that though too. We make sure that the important things are in there for us, because you go to some calendars and they don't even have the bond auctions on there, or they don't have some speakers on there, and that's ridiculous. I can't stand that. So that's why we put this calendar together to catch those events. But the second thing, my favorite part of this is the calendar file that goes in Outlook or Google Calendar or whatever. So I don't even have to look at it. All I have to do is just download the file once a week, and then it pops up an alert 2 minutes before the event, or I can just open my calendar in the morning, and it's got the list of all the events for that day, what their what their impact is, and uh, I love that part. So
Yeah,
I think that's worth the price of the newsletter all by itself.
I agree. That's a good thing you mentioned that. And I think that's extra valuable for the people who are not Steam Room members, because inside of the Steam Room, we have our little algo friend Moses, who will post in the room, you know, 2 minutes before any data is coming out. We'll get a little message in the chat room. But if you're not in the chat room, and then this is perfect because you can get it on your iPhone, on your Outlook calendar, and you'll just get an alert and you'll get notified 2 minutes before any data release. So again, yeah, that's probably worth the $29. It could save you a heck of a lot more than you would potentially lose if you forget about one of these events.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some nifty, um, uh, you know, I mean, what's the word I'm looking for? Like some nifty development stuff that you guys have done with this that we'll get into more with, you know, the levels and being able to put them on your platform. But yeah, Dave, that's a great point in terms of, you know, the economic calendar. Like, you know, yes, this can save you some Googling time and stuff. But I think also, as you guys will see as we go deeper into this, Norse and Dave have made this really catered to traders, right? You know, you guys are busy in the morning, a lot going on. Like every second pre-market is valuable, you know. So we want to help make that time as efficient, you know, and as focused for you as possible.
And that's actually super important. Like Dave said initially, it's like we're only going to put critical information that's going to help your trading. This is not supposed to be like a 29-page, you know, newsletter for entertainment. It's so you can get whatever info you need in your inbox before the market opens. Like that's really the point.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Well said. All right. So now let's get into some of the, you know, kind of sexier part of the newsletter here with gamma positioning. Do you guys want to break down maybe just real quick kind of why gamma has such a, you know, important focus within the newsletter, and then, you know, go through how you guys talk about it in here?
Yeah, so obviously gamma is a very hot topic these days, and for good reasons. We've seen an explosion in the zero DTE options over the last few years, which has made gamma a lot more important to the overall, you know, market and how it behaves. So it's super, super important to know what the, you know, gamma structure, especially on SPX, is before you're coming into the market, because the difference, you know, on how price moves in a positive gamma environment compared to a negative gamma environment is huge. So that is going to really affect the way you're going to decide to, you know, manage your trades that day, right? So I think Dave has done an incredible job in actually displaying the different gamma levels in a very sort of like intuitive way here in this top chart. I have never seen anyone, you know, display gamma exactly this way. So we have three super important levels right here. We have the green line at the top there, which is the call wall, which is often its, you know, significant resistance point. Then you have the dotted yellow line in the middle, which is the gamma flip or the zero gamma area. So above that yellow line, SPX gamma is going to be positive, right? And below that yellow line, the SPX gamma structure is going to be negative. And then you do have the put wall at the bottom, which often acts as a strong support level. And then on the right-hand side, you're seeing the net gamma exposure, and you're seeing them across, all the strikes. So you can clearly see why that. I can't exactly see what level that is. That's 5,300 is on SPX,
5,300.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you can see why 5,300 is the put wall, because that is where you have the highest net negative gamma. And then you can also see where the gamma flips from negative to positive, and why that orange dotted line or yellow dotted line is where it is. And if you go higher up the chain there, you can see that at 5,700 is where you have the highest net positive gamma, and why the call wall is there. So this to me is a very intuitive way to understand why these levels are so important and why those walls are where they are. And you can also see from the chain there where other areas of interest may be, because there are other areas there, both on the positive side and the negative side, where there's pretty high amount of gamma. So Dave, anything else you want to point out that I might have forgotten?
No, not really. I mean, these charts have been in there every day, but there's different ways to represent gamma, and ways that are, depending on what kind of environment and stuff we're in. And so we may add other stuff, kind of like everywhere else in the newsletter. There may be stuff we add because it's important that day or week. But no, you covered that part pretty well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, oh, go ahead, Nars.
yeah, real quick, another thing that this newsletter is going to be helpful with is we're going to point out when these levels shift, right? If you have the call wall all of a sudden move up to SPX 6,000, we're going to make sure to point that out and tell you what that means, because that would be, a significant sentiment shift. So not only are we giving you the important levels, but we're tracking how they're moving and pointing that out to you as well.
Yeah. I mean, something I want to highlight and call out is like, Lucci, our educators, Lucci and Ranch and, Wall Street Jesus, they've got whatever 75 years combined trading experience between them. And, Lucci in particular is very quick to be critical of, new things that maybe might seem like they're simplifying the markets in a way. He's famous for just being like, just give me tape. I just want to read tape. I just want to see buyers and sellers. That's it, right? And in the past, he's been dismissive of pretty much anybody who's saying, I got this level on a chart. Check this out. Lucci uses this stuff. Ranch uses this. Jay uses this stuff. Like, this is very in line philosophically with how these guys see markets and see what determines price, which is, where are the institutional players, where are dealers, where are market makers positioned, the people who control price, within the name, like where are they positioned at any given moment, right? And that is supportive of the philosophy that underlies tape reading, that underlies, flow trading. It's all sort of part of one cohesive philosophy. And it's not just sort of, out here on its own, just some kind of like nice level on a chart. And I think one of the things that's really cool about this and the way that Norse and Dave have created this, I mean, we basically have two different types of traders in our community. One is a trader who's either, professional, trading other people's capital, or maybe they're trading their own money, but like they are doing it at a high level. They're profitable. They are in our community because they want to trade with other people. They want trade ideas. They want to, share data and stuff like that. But they're doing this on their own. They know what they're doing. Then there's the people who are more aspirational, right? And people who are like, hey, I'm learning this. I haven't gotten to, be consistently profitable yet. And I think that the way that the newsletter is structured can be really, really helpful for that type of trader too, that aspirational trader, because even if you're not going out and trading this stuff every day, which, as I said, a lot of our guys are, you can still read this every day for $30 a month and learn a ton, about some pretty advanced trading tools that, over time, like they might completely change how you see markets and how you trade.
I think that's a good point, and we definitely want to educate people, not just inform through the newsletter. And I think one of the biggest things you'll see is like what data points are professional traders looking at, because if you're on Twitter or you're all on, the internet on all these websites, like people will try to like show you all kinds of different stuff and say that this matters and this matters. And it's like we really think that we have a pretty good grasp on what information actually matters and what do you actually need to, make good trading decisions. And that's the stuff that we're gonna put in front of you. And if you're a newer aspirational trader, I 100% think that we can, steepen the fasten the learning curve a lot, because we'll teach you how to use these gamma levels, for example. And if you're someone, excuse my French, who's aping into calls when SPX is all the way up at the call wall there, that's not the best highest probability trade. And then let's take the downside level as an example. As you can see, like these levels can break, right? That's, like anything can happen in the markets. But we had some really, really important information. When that level broke, it didn't move. And when that level doesn't move, it's a very high likelihood that price is going to at least come back and maybe come back inside, which is exactly what happened. So we had a bunch of traders in our room, getting call options on, individual names and the indexes when they saw that price started to recover and that wall didn't shift lower. They felt pretty confident that SPX is going to take back that level and, maybe even go back inside it. And certainly they got enough of a move to make some money on their calls there. And some people sold puts. If we're not going to tell you, how to use these levels, like that's just going to be up to each individual trader and your style. But at least we could, nudge you in the right direction of putting on trades in higher probability areas.
Well said. And as you can see, like there's little hyperlinked parts here and there, bits of text, and these kind of take you out to help articles, things that can, if you don't know exactly what we're talking about or how this works, we do have explanations for a lot of this in there. So as Norse said, we're trying to educate, not just inform. Is there anything further you guys want to say about, these two charts before we go on to the next one?
In this newsletter, there wasn't particularly much to say about it, to say about gamma positioning going in tomorrow. But we point out, and I mean, we point that out, right? We point out that it's not a whole lot of change here. There's not, pretty much looking at the same thing we're yesterday as we head into OPEX. But, also being able to point out the other things like liquidity. We noticed when liquidity started falling off the books and, just increase the probability of huge ranges. You talked about sometimes the walls break. I think we had 2 days last week with 90-point days off of the wall. It's important to know when those things come into play and how they may react whenever they get there as well, right? And like you said, to the education part, we try to put in little brief pieces of information that highlight certain things you should recognize from the previous day as well. So if there was something that we pointed out maybe on the GEX ray or the GEX chart or something the previous day, and there was a really good learning experience around that, then we'll try to point it out the next day too, right? So those people that read the newsletter will begin to understand why we write the scenarios the way we do, what to look for when you read them in the morning, what to look for whenever you read what we say about GEX or flow or iron condors or any of that stuff. Not just to brag and say, hey, it hit our level, went up 90 points. We're the smartest guys in the room, right? That's not the point here. So I'm glad you mentioned the part about education.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to quickly hit on the gamma exposure profile, that's often how you'll see, gamma visualized in other newsletters and other websites. So a lot of people who are a little bit more familiar with gamma likes to look at it this way. It's basically the same chart that we had above, just flipped on its side, right? So quickly, if we look at the components, we can see like where it shifts from green to red, that's the zero gamma. So that's that 54.69 price, which you can see on the bottom ledger there as well. And then you can see where spot price is, which is going to be the red. And then you see the gamma curves, right? And the highest points of the curve, highest and lowest points, that's going to be where the walls are. And on the left, you can see the amount of negative gamma that we're currently in. It's right around, I think 40 billion. And correct me if I'm mistaken here, Dave, but that's how much the market maker has to hedge per 1% move, right? So you get a little bit more information from that chart. But it's basically the same chart. The only difference is you can actually see the amount of negative or positive gamma are in, because sometimes you hear like, oh, gamma is, negative 40 billion. So that's where that's coming from.
We have another cool tool just to throw this in there because I'm excited about it. It's essentially a gamma positioning. You think of it something like a COT data or something like that I haven't seen anywhere else. But I think it's going to help a lot for swing traders, long-term traders, as well as day traders. So hopefully that'll be rolling out pretty soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be really cool for us to see how this evolves over time, because, these guys are always, I hope you guys are all picking up on the vibe and the energy here. I mean, they're always taking what is valuable to them and in their trading and developing new tools around that, right? And talking to people in the room, what would you guys want? What would help your trading more right now? Build a tool around that. And as we do more of that in the Steam room, we're going to take, parts of those tools and put them in here. So I think it's gonna be really cool to see that grow over time. What's talked about, what's included. All right, now we're getting to also a pretty sexy part of this. I mean, let's talk about market structure, this piece, and then maybe we can do, Norse, maybe you can do like a little demonstration of the levels and downloads. I can pass the screen sharing over to you and you can show how easy it is to just like take these things and apply them to your trading platform.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we can start with the market structure part real quick.
So the market structure is basically a trend model, and it's based on market profile analysis. So it's not like just some silly moving average cross or anything like that. It was extremely helpful to me whenever I understood this concept fully, and so that's what that is. So if you look at this one, you can see that we're flat across the monthly time frame. We're down across the weekly time frame, which will likely shift if this continues. And then we have up on ES and NQ, flat on Russell and YM. This is kind of a complicated model, but that's all you really need to know. And so there's a little bit of text below it that just explains that we're in balance in the higher time frames. And at least for me, and I hope this helps other people in this sense, but it helps get an idea for what sort of price action to expect throughout the day, throughout the coming week, just based on that information alone. And I just talk about, I throw a couple other things in there that you don't see on this newsletter, but, yearly point of control, year-to-date anchored VWAP. Despite the sharp move in the last 2 weeks, the market is currently in a neutral state. So that's basically the sum of all of those parts, is what the structure of the entire market is on the various timeframes.
Yeah.
Is that a good explanation? Because I know it's
works for me.
A little complicated if you don't understand the inner workings.
I think market structure and market profile are the kind of things that initially can be really intimidating to people when you first start looking at it. And then as you said, Dave, I think that everybody has a point where the concept just clicks into place, and then it's just second nature. Everybody's like, oh yeah, this is just a great way to visualize, market activity and have an understanding of, of what's happening. So yeah, if you're at all intimidated by market structure and market profile, don't be, spend a little bit of time on it. Maybe just read the newsletter, a week or two in a row, you'll pick it up and it'll all click into place.
Me. I love talking about it. I'll talk about it all day.
Yeah. Or nerd out with Dave on it. He'll happily oblige. Yeah. So another thing, again, I'm hitting this point pretty hard, but Norse and Dave, like, this is really built about practicality. None of this is just like us sitting around in a room being like, theoretically, what would traders want? What would be cool or whatever? It's really about just making things like practically useful to people, right? And one of the things that that these guys have built out is the ability to just like click on some of these levels and have them pretty quickly applied to your trading platform. So, and we're constantly going to be, we're working on, adding more platforms, to this list so that more and more people can, easily apply these levels to your charts. But this is what we've got right now. Norse, do you want to do a quick, can I pass the screen
Yeah.
sharing over to you? Can you do a quick
Yeah.
demonstration here just to give people an idea of how easy it is?
Definitely. All right, you can see my screen now, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I have previously added our TradingView script through my platform, and it's very, very easy. It's simply just copying and pasting in a script, and then you'll have an indicator on your TradingView. And it's actually even easier in Thinkorswim, but we have, help articles and how to, and even, videos with step-by-step instructions. So we've made this like very simple for you guys to set up. And then when you're coming in, in the morning on the trading day, all you have to do is open up your email, right? And then you just select the levels that you want. And me as a futures trader, I want the futures GEX file, and I also want the futures volatility ranges. So first thing I'm going to do is just grab the GEX file right here. So here's that. I'm going to simply just mark it all, copy it. I'm going to come over here to TradingView, and I'm going to hit this little settings gear here on my Steam levels script. And then I'm simply going to paste these levels in right here. And then I'm going to go back to the email, and I'm going to grab the volatility ranges and do the exact same thing. Just mark them all, copy, paste them in here in the volatility ranges, and I am going to click OK. And then we just got to give them a little bit of time to load here. And then voila, here we have the GEX levels. And the very, very cool thing is right now, it's like I loaded them for several instruments, right? So as you can see here, there's GEX levels for SPX in here, NQ in here, and there's volatility ranges for the same indices in here as well. So if I flip over to a different chart, I'm going to automatically have the levels on there as well. And what we're going to be able to see here now is like, now we can see these levels that we looked at in the email as well. So here we have that GEX flip line that we looked at. And we also have that, call wall that we talked about, the one that was right around, I don't remember exactly where it was. I think it was it 5,700 was that? So we're listing both the minor and the major call walls and put walls. So you're getting two major upside resistance levels and two major downside support levels, as well as the GEX flip levels. We also got our volatility ranges in here. So we have from settlement price, we're measuring one standard deviation to the downside and one standard deviation to the upside, and the same two standard deviation down and two standard deviation up. So today we're having a pretty, intense trend day. So we are above the 2 sigma move up at the moment. It remains to be seen if we're going to close, below it, but we see that about, 96% of the time we expect price to close inside of these sigma levels. So for me, these are levels I absolutely just need to have every single day. I've paid a lot more for these levels from other places, and I think these are some of the most important levels that you can have on your chart, just because you need to know what type of gamma environment we're in, and when these levels hit, they can provide you with significant opportunities. And for me, this is the fastest and the easiest way to get these levels every day. So
can you pull up SPY, Norse?
Yes, I can.
Just curious to see what I haven't looked at it today. One of the things that you mentioned too on the sigma levels, those are not trading levels. Those are not levels where you catch a bounce. I know you look at this chart and you want to trade those levels, but the white ones are the sigma levels. But that's not their intention. You can put random lines all over your chart, and all of them are going to work sometimes. But I love how you pointed out that whenever you open up and you're above 2 sigma, and there's juice in the market, right? Something has happened, something has changed, and
Yeah.
we don't have 100 tools to do the same thing, right? We try to have 100 tools to do 100 different things or whatever. So those are 2 different levels on your chart that are used 2 different ways, which is what I love about them.
I certainly do use them for trading though. So
Be my guest. But
yeah, no, because you can even see it here today, right? It's like we opened up above 1 sigma, and a lot of traders in our room, if we open up and hold above 1 sigma, they look for a move to 2 sigma. And we can see here, it's like we had a little move up in the morning and then we sold off. Where did we sell off to? Well, we held that 1 sigma level, and then we started a trend move higher. We trended into 2 sigma, shot a little bit above, back tested that, and went even higher. And then, you know, we had a program that hit here a few minutes ago while we were on the call. Where did it sell off to? Well, we held that 2 sigma level. So today could be, you know, one of those like 4 or 5% occurrences where we actually close outside. But, you know, having these levels on your chart also gives you, you know, a 96% chance of knowing what the ranges are going to be for the day, unless we're going to go into an extreme trend day higher and, you know, go outside the normal, you know, 2 standard deviation. So between the gamma levels and the volatility ranges, I think you have some very, very high probability levels, but it's also going to give you kind of like bumpers, right? For, you know, what to expect in price action. Like if you, again, are looking for an extreme move to the upside when you're above 2 sigma, it can happen, right? But the probabilities are certainly lower.
especially
That's
if it
what
happens earlier in the day. But yeah, we could probably do a whole nother webinar on this. So I'll shut up right there. But
I mean, we will be having more conversations about this, about, you know, each component of you know, the daily brief and what's in it. So yeah, we'll have plenty of time to geek out on it. But I think, Norse, the point that you made there is really important. It's just, this is about probabilities, right? This is all about putting probability in our favor. We're not trying to predict the future exactly, but we are saying, you know, based on all the data that we've crunched and looked at, these are, you know, higher probability moves that you want to have on your radar. And, you know, to be clear, Norse doesn't know how to code, right? I mean, Norse is not like, I know that when people sometimes see, you know, anything that looks like code, they're like, oh my God, I don't want to deal with that or whatever. But like the
I just
applying
copy
of the levels
pasted.
is, yeah, like it's pretty freaking simple. And I hope for anybody who, you know, uses, you know, these platforms, you know, you at least give it a shot, because it's been pretty cool. And a lot of members of the room have just like hit us with messages and been like, oh, this is like such a relief. This is so sick to be able to just like do this so easily and have it there.
we also we also provide them in a CSV file, like an Excel file
Yeah.
too, for people that want to back test them or put them in their own platform or do different things with it.
Right.
We give them to them. They're welcome to do that. So
Yeah, I mean, for the people who want to go, you know, deeper into this stuff, we obviously make that available to them. As they've said, you know, CSV files and everything right there.
Why don't you hit that calendar file, because that's the one that Dave was talking about earlier, and it can show how easy that is, because it's probably just going to open up your iCal and ask you if you want to add it. So not to
well,
put you on the spot, but
I got rid of iCal. I got rid of iCal on
okay,
my computer. Yeah, sorry, I'm not a good guinea pig for that because
it's still
I
going to
use
work
Google
though,
Cal.
Dave, right?
it works with every calendar I've tested. So iCal, so Outlook reads iCal format.
Mhm.
You know, Android, they all read that same format. It's a what do we call it, a de facto standard for email calendars, or for calendars, sorry. But you
Okay.
don't have to worry about it. You'll be getting
Yeah.
alerts all day long, all week. So
I was gonna say, yeah, I don't know if, yeah, I don't need that shit. That's your guys' job.
And
Um,
this is something that we kind of like added into the newsletter as just kind of like, yeah, this would be cool to have. Let's throw it in there. And then we hear from the people in the news like, this is amazing. I would pay $29 just to have the calendars. We're like, all right, cool. We'll leave it in there.
yeah, I mean, I think part of our philosophy of this is just obviously pack as much value into this as possible. And I think there's each piece of this for any individual trader would be worth more than $29 a month. You know, when you combine it all into one letter, one email, we hope that everybody's like, you know, this is a
Uh,
no brainer.
100%. This isn't some sort of like lead magnet, right? Like we didn't create this newsletter because it's like, oh, let's create this as like a lead magnet for people to come into the Steam room. If people like what they see and they want to come into the Steam room to get more, they're more than welcome. But what we set out to do here was to come out and create the best damn newsletter out there for $29. And yeah,
I think we came pretty damn close. Um, this Slack section here, notes from the desk, this is a lot of, this is essentially, Norse and Dave pulling from a lot of the activity in the steam room, right? So pulling from what Wall Street Jesus is highlighting in terms of important flow, important orders that people, want to keep an eye on, have on their radar. Again, if this will help you if you're not in the steam room. Maybe you are a steam room member and whatever, you're not logged in, you're traveling or something like that, or you're not a steam room member, you're not paying for that, but you still want to be able to tap into more of what Jay is highlighting and flagging as important activity. This is what this is. And again, speaking to the fact that like everything is sort of works together, everything that we do in here, all the tools that we use support one another in one sort of coherent trading philosophy. Flow, gamma levels, everything, they work in conjunction with one another. And then, this last section here, the previous day review, this is more of, Dave, I'll let you go into it, but this I think is relatively self-explanatory. This is a deeper dive into what happened yesterday. And basically we put, at the top of the newsletter, as we talked about, like there's like a brief summary, right? And then we start getting into today's action. But if you do want to go deeper into an analysis of yesterday's activity and kind of have more context to start your day, you can do this. Everybody's going to find the part of this thing that works, that is most important to them. And some people just want to go deeper into yesterday. So that's really what this is. Dave, is there anything else that I left out of that part?
Yeah, in my opinion, it's what I'd call like need to know stuff. So if you subscribe to Trade the News, for example, like $350 a month or whatever, you get something like this in the morning. They tell you, like, is there geopolitical stuff that you need to be concerned about? Which obviously we do right now with all the stuff in the Middle East and Ukraine. Right now with inflation, recession, interest rates, all that kind of stuff. If there's anything relevant related to the Fed or to interest rates, we're going to put that in the newsletter. That may be different, 2 months from now, we're talking about election stuff, or we may be talking about the housing market or banking or whatever. So this is us going through and, as someone who's going to sit down and trade, seriously every day, this is the information we need to know. We're doing, we're getting all this information and we're just passing over to you, right? So you don't have to do it. You read through there and we're going to try to pick up on everything that might be relevant, that might affect the trading day, that you need to know about before the day starts.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite things from this section is the key takeaways from different reports, because there will usually be, if you scroll all the way to the bottom there, Charlie, it's the last paragraph where it says the key takeaway from this report is that the U.S. government continues to run a large budget deficit, driven part by net interest costs that are now outweighing defense spending. To me, I think this is going to be super helpful for a lot of people, because it's not so easy to know what the key takeaway from all these different reports that we get, every week and month, where you're getting the CPI, the PPI, the employment reports, the housing reports. But in this section, it's going to tell you what the key takeaway is and how this actually affects you as a trader or a consumer, right? So I really like that part. I think it's super helpful. If I'm rushed, I might skip this part, but I'm the kind of guy who likes to, have my coffee in the morning and pull this off. I kind of go through all of the sections pretty carefully. And I make sure to, pay attention to what the key takeaways from the previous day's reports are.
And you mentioned that too. So if you'll notice, some of that stuff is highlighted. It's highlighted for that reason. So if you're Norse and you want to read the whole thing, read the whole thing. If you don't have time for that or you don't care that much, just check the highlights. That's all you really need to know. If you scroll up a little bit to the FedWatch section, for example, there's a lot of stuff that's highlighted in there, but there's a lot of pertinent information there, right? So, Government Bowman spoke over the weekend, or baseline outlook is that inflation will decline further. If U.S. inflation continues to move towards 2%, et cetera, just read the highlights. That's the really need to know information. So instead of taking 10 minutes to go through this whole thing, you can do it in, probably 2 minutes, right? And we did that for that reason. Because maybe you're not going to trade that day, but you just want to browse what's going on so you'll be ready when you trade the next day or something like that. But also, one more thing I want to mention is, like, in the room, we have access to a lot of information. And, we look at stuff from Goldman Sachs and JPM and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, we're not copying that information, but through all that research and stuff that's coming from very expensive sources, right? We can distill that information if it's important. Because a lot of people don't even have access to that. So, you know, if they're talking about positioning in hedge funds or credit spreads or something of that nature, you won't find out about it until 2 days later when it's in the journal, you know, or Zero Hedge talks about it or whatever. But we've got that information in there for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good note to wrap up on. I mean, this whole thing is about saving you guys time, saving you guys brain power, you know, brain cycles, making it as easy as possible for you to feel prepped and you know, in touch with what professional traders are doing every day to, you know, to start their day. So, hope you guys learn something along the way. If you're watching this, hope you're excited to potentially give this a try. You know, we're going to be rolling out the newsletter to the public, you know, the daily brief to the public here in the next couple of days. So we have a wait list you can sign up for. You know, if you're watching this a couple of days after we record, you can go over to wallstreetjesus.com/brief, you know, or just wallstreetjesus.com and navigate from, you know, from the menu, and you can sign up for the wait list. So you get an email, you know, once we go live to the public. And then once we go live, you know, you'll be a 7-day trial. So everybody can like try this out, get the gist of it, you know, get a sense for how they can work integrated into their training day. And if it works for you, you know, $29 a month, not too bad. $1 a day. Come on. So yeah, Norris, Dave, really appreciate you guys taking the time to go through this with everybody, and you know, even more importantly, for creating this thing, for putting it together. You know, you guys have kicked ass with this. So I think everybody in the room is already super appreciative of it, and I think a lot of people from the public who are not in the room are going to be as well. So thank you guys for creating it, and hope many of you watching this get a chance to subscribe to this thing, and hope it helps you trading. All right, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.